We are back for another episode of the International Agenda on the BJ Show. As always, I'm your host, Aidan Barry, and we'll be discussing everything going on around the world in the world of sport. International Agenda. Tonight, we will be going through the recap of the Super Bowl as well as the Champions League preliminary phase along with many other exciting happenings in the world of sport. So sit back, relax and enjoy the show. Overview how that works, how that happens, how the first legs have gone down this week, as well as a look towards the final back end of the American sports competitions. We may as well get started at the big game of them all, the Super Bowl. It is now time to recap Super Bowl 59 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. And the game itself it looked like it should have been quite even on paper, but what we saw was one team totally dominant, learning from their mistakes with their previous efforts and coming out the victors. I think you know who I'm talking about. We'll run through it score by score. The first quarter, Jalen Hurts goes a little Philly push to get the Eagles up 7-0. Second quarter scoring, 8.5 minutes down, Jake Elliott 48-yard kick for the Eagles, putting them up 10-0. Then Chiefs next drive, Cooper DeJean 38-yard pick six, and Jake Elliott makes the kick for 17-0 to the Eagles. To end the first half, the Eagles, a minute and a half ago, AJ Brown makes a catch from Jalen Hurts, Jake Elliott makes the kick, and it's 24-0 Eagles. And at halftime, this game was already over at halftime. The best thing about the second half was going to be the final whistle, unless the Chiefs could mount a comeback. However, it was not to be. The Eagles took control and continued in the second half. Third quarter, 5 minutes on the clock. Jake Elliott makes a 29-yard kick to put the Eagles up 27-0. And then with 2.5 minutes to go, Devonta Smith found 46-yard pass from Jalen Hurts. Jake Elliott converts the kick. Eagles up 34-0, and the game at this point was over. The Eagles hit the brakes and said, "We are done trying our hardest. We're going to just roll the time off the board and collect our Super Bowl. It does not matter what you do." The Chiefs had to show a bit of life, make this a little bit of a contest, and they do. Pat Mahomes finding Xavier Worthy 24-yard pass and a failed 2-point conversion, so it's 6-34 at three-quarter time. Then at the 10-minute and 8-minute marks, Jake Elliott made a 48 and then 50-yard kick for the Eagles, so they went 37, then 40-6. And in the last 3 minutes, the Chiefs add two scores with one pass going to DeAndre Hopkins from 7 yards, Patrick Mahomes, as well as a successful 2-point conversion, making it 14-40. And then with just under 2 minutes to go, Xavier Worthy 50-yard pass from Mahomes, 2-point conversion also successful, ending at 22-40, and that is the final score of Super Bowl 59. The Kansas City Chiefs 22, the Philadelphia Eagles 40. Jalen Hurts, your Super Bowl MVP. He threw 17 of 22, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown, and for 1 interception. Also ran 11 carries for 72 yards, and that rushing touchdown, as I said, on top. If we compare that to Pat Mahomes threw 21 of 32, 257 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, one of them being a pick six, and rushing yards for the Chiefs leader was Patrick Mahomes, 4 carries, 25 yards. So congratulations to the Eagles on a dominant display in the Super Bowl. They have thoroughly earned this title. All of the blokes down in Philly, they've been working. I've seen their stats, over the years. They are a team who are build, and now that they're there, they finally make it there. Great job to the Philadelphia Eagles. The next time we chat NFL will be as we count down to the draft, and that'll be in a couple of months' time. The draft is until April, so we've got a bit of time. We'll count down to the draft. We'll do a draft overview, but as for now, that is the last NFL content we will have for the next couple of weeks. Right, we will now move on to having a look at the Champions League preliminary knockout round. The draw happened, the first legs have happened, and we'll see who's looking good to go through to the knockout rounds proper. Right, first leg of the Champions League preliminary knockout rounds. We will go through each match one by one and we will discuss it, or I'll discuss it right here. So we start with PSG versus Stade de Brest. PSG lead this tie 3-0, so I think that's a comfortable win for PSG there. Second leg, they'll go back to their place and put some more on the board. I don't see any upsets happening there. Now, the biggest tie of the round, which could easily have been the Champions League final this year, Real Madrid versus Manchester City. They've just finished playing in Manchester. That was the game this week. They'll go to the Bernabeu next week. Madrid leading 3-2. Now, this is interesting, and what I'm going to say might come as a shock to some people, but I think City's going to turn this around. I really do. I think that Manchester City, with the year they've had, are willing to put everything on the line to get through to the next round of the Champions League, leaving Real Madrid one of the biggest teams to lose in the preliminary knockout round. But with that said, they are a goal down going to the Bernabeu. I think City is going to go 3-1 at the Bernabeu, making it 5-4 on aggregate, and they're going to get through with that last goal coming in the last 5 minutes of the game. The next game we have in the preliminary knockout round is Sporting versus Borussia Dortmund. Dortmund lead this tie 3-0 going home as they're in Sporting this week, and just like PSG versus Stade de Brest, I think this is an easy win for Borussia Dortmund. I give Sporting a lot of credit. They were unlucky with the draw. I think if they got another team, they would have done a lot better. But just with how the draw fell for them, it didn't work in their favour, and their Champions League is just about done. The last game that was played on the first day of preliminary knockout round was Juventus versus PSV Eindhoven. Now, Juventus had this game at home. They only won 2-1 against Eindhoven. So I'm going to give the edge to PSV Eindhoven. And I say that because I've always said if you can get 2-1 in your away leg, you can go home knowing that you need to score and hold the other team to blank, and you will get through fine. So I'm going to say that in the second leg of this tie, PSV Eindhoven win 3-1, knock out Juventus in what would be one of the biggest upsets of the Champions League so far this year. Second day of Champions League preliminary knockouts. First match we had was Club Brugge versus Atalanta FC. So Club Brugge 2-1 winners at home. Atalanta will go home, and just like I said with PSV taking on Juve, if you are one goal behind going home, I think you're quite capable of winning the tie. So I think Atalanta will go home and they will win 2-0 at home, and they will win the tie 3-2. Celtic versus Bayern Munich. Celtic 1, Bayern 2. This game was played in Glasgow. Bayern will go home with a lead. I don't see them dropping that. I think they win this tie at home. They put 3 more on the board and they win comfortably 5-1. Now, one of the other big because it's more even than big, one of the more even ties of the round is Monaco versus Benfica. And Benfica went to Monaco and they won 1-0. Going home next week, I think Benfica hold that. They don't have to score. I think another 1-0 there for Benfica, so they will win that tie 2-0. In the final tie of the Champions League preliminary knockout, Feyenoord versus AC Milan. Feyenoord won 1-0 at home, and now AC Milan will go back to the San Siro, and I think AC Milan does a number on them. I see AC Milan winning 4-2 at the San Siro and winning the tie 4-3, meaning that they will go through to the Champions League knockouts proper. And sitting in that round of 16, we have Liverpool, who won the Champions League phase outright on 21 points. Second was Barcelona, third Arsenal, fourth Inter, fifth Atletico, sixth Bayern, seventh Lille, and eighth Aston Villa. So those 8 teams are waiting now to see who they play next week in the knockout proper, which will begin a few weeks after that. It is going to be an interesting time to run down to the end of this new Champions League format. The Europa League and the Conference League are following a very similar format. We will catch up with them as they get to their pointier ends, but for now we'll keep our focus on the Champions League. So we'll see where that leaves us after the second round of games. We will catch up with them later on. We'll come back to the Champions League in the next episode, and we will see how the draw has gone for the knockouts proper. And now, with the sound of that horn, it's time to discuss some NHL. Now we're going to go through, like we did in the last episode, the current conference and division standings, looking at the point totals for the teams who I think is going to make the NHL playoffs. And then we're also going to touch on something that's happening in the NHL right now, well, in world hockey right now, that we're going to catch up with next episode. So we'll start with the Eastern Conference. And the Eastern Conference, we have in the Atlantic, the Florida Panthers, 71 points. The Toronto Maple Leafs, 68 points. The Tampa Bay Lightning, 66 points. The Ottawa Senators, 62 points. The Detroit Red Wings, 61 points. The Boston Bruins, 60 points. The Montreal Canadiens, 55 points. And the Buffalo Sabres, 49 points. So coming out of the Atlantic, I can easily say that the Panthers should make it. I think the Panthers should and will make it. I think that the Maple Leafs should and will make it. And I also think that the Lightning should and will make it. So those three will come out of the Atlantic. Going to the Met now, we have the Washington Capitals on 80 points. The Carolina Hurricanes on 70 points. The New Jersey Devils on 68 points. The Columbus Blue Jackets on 60 points. The New York Rangers on 58. The New York Islanders on 57. The Pittsburgh Penguins on 55. And the Philadelphia Flyers on 55. So much like the Atlantic, I think there's three clear teams, even clearer in this division, that should go through in the Caps, the Hurricanes, and the Devils. So I think right now the East, we're looking at who could be the possible wildcard entries into the playoffs. We'll go have a look at the Western Conference and we'll start with the Central Division. The Winnipeg Jets are on 81 points. The Dallas Stars are second in the Central on 72. Third are the Minnesota Wild on 70. Then the Colorado Avalanche on 68. The Utah Hockey Club on 57. The St. Louis Blues on 55. The Nashville Predators on 45. And the Chicago Blackhawks on 41. So again, much like the divisions in the East, we've got two or three clear frontrunners. We have the Jets, who will definitely be in. Stars, who should make it. I won't say they will make it because this division, they've got the Wild trailing by 2 points, the Colorado Avalanche trailing by 4 points, so that could get quite interesting. Possibly a wild card coming from this division as well. We go to the final division. We go to the Pacific. It is tied between the Edmonton Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights. They're tied on 72 points. Then in third, we have the LA Kings on 65. Then the Vancouver Canucks on 63. The Calgary Flames on 60. The Anaheim Ducks on 54. The Seattle Kraken on 52. And the San Jose Sharks on 37. So coming out of that, we should have Edmonton and Vegas as definites. And then we look to the Kings and the Canucks to see who gets that third place in the Pacific. Also, as we move forward, we will have a look at the full playoff breakdown on the bracket and see who makes the wildcard spots. Just to finish off today's episode, I mentioned it earlier when we started talking about the NHL and the ice hockey, is right now going on. The NHL's on break for the next couple of weeks. It is the Four Nations face-off. Canada, United States, Sweden, Finland play off against each other in a round robin with a final to determine who the kings of hockey really are. Canada are very vocal right now. They say this is their sport. They will defend the ice as much as they can. They lay claim to ice hockey. I have looked at the teams and I think Canada are definitely a chance to take out the Four Nations face-off. I think Sweden, again, a very strong team, definitely has a possibility of doing it. Finland are probably my third-ranked team. They are, again, a very strong. All the teams are very strong international level teams. And my fourth-place team is the USA. I just think that, Canada will do whatever it takes to stop the USA from taking them off the ice in the Four Nations face-off. We will catch up with all the game results of the Four Nations face-off next time we have a chat about the ice hockey world on the international agenda. But that's it for this episode of the International Agenda. I've been your host, Aidan Barry, signing off. Thank you very much.